Command Center access granted. Welcome to the Command Center, Captain. Engaging forward control panel.
All right, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Glad to have everybody along for the ride as we take a little bit of an adventure cruise behind the scenes of game development. My name is Vale here with Golden Spotlight. That is the name of our program on Saturdays because we like to put the spotlight on another indie developer or artist or somebody who is contributing to the growth of basically this whole indie dev process and community. And so we have a guest who is joining us that fits that category. Believe it or not, molecular biologist turned medical editor turned game developer. Please welcome in our guest who is Musky. Hey, thank you for joining us here today.
Hey.
An anomaly has been detected within
Golden.
range of our scanners.
I feel very flattered.
Collecting data now to determine potential
very,
threats.
Very honored. Nice to be on the show.
Well, much appreciated
Assessment
that you
of
could
potential
take the time
threat
here.
complete. Danger is minimal. Returning to condition status blue.
An officer has arrived in Command Center.
All right. Thank you, Jedzia, for keeping us informed on all of that. Sounds like things are safe. We've got officers joining us here. We've got all kinds of people joining us, so thank you. We're going to talk to Musky, and we're going to talk to him about his project. A lot of things. I want to just get to know him a little bit, but we're also going to talk to him about his project called PsykoWorld. I don't know if you want to maybe just start and give us a little bit of blurb about yourself before we talk about the project, or?
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, I used to be basically a scientist. Worked molecular genetics and research on lung cancer stuff for a few years. Did some science communication, but there was always something a little bit kind of missing. Kind of in life, I was always like very analytical, but I had kind of a small artistic idea. Believe it or not, this whole thing kind of came to me as like a bad dream. So in my sophomore spring break, I was eating like ramen noodles with my girlfriend at the time. And I had the worst stomach virus I had ever had in my life. There was like a blizzard happening in Cleveland. I was at Case Western. I was like huddled over in my bed. Couldn't even get myself to the bathroom. At some point, I was having like fever dreams. Couldn't really sleep. I was very scared. And in one of those dreams, I remember dreaming of being in a city full of talking animals and computer machines and like beings of light and all this weird stuff. And one of them had told me, hey, you and I, let's work to go take out the trash or something so we could get a train ticket to the next town over and get out of this place. And they kept telling me, just whatever you do, don't stop working, don't go to sleep. You're going to be all right. So that dream happened. And once it ended, it was all gone. And this thing that had comforted me for basically 2 days, kind of the worst sickness I had had until that point, I couldn't remember. I couldn't share it with anyone. I was like, what do? I got up. I remember kind of moving over to the sticky note I had, and I was trying to draw something, but I'd never drawn anything in my life. So I was like, damn it, I guess I'm going to have to learn to draw. So I called one of my friends, Angelini Basilidi, that's his handle. He told him, hey, can we, or Super Furrymon, actually, now it's Super Furrymon. I told him, hey, do you want to learn to draw with me? Because I've got this idea that I need to make come to life, but I don't know how to do anything. So we learned to draw. A year after that, I learned how to write with my friends. Then I learned, hey, should this be like a movie or a show? Well, no, it doesn't really make sense. It's the interaction that was fun. So it has to be a video game. And then that's how that journey started. 6 long years ago, I didn't know anything. Now I know a little bit. Now I work in Unity. The game is kind of at this point in its development. Now I have the LLC set up, Ringtail Games. I've got my kind of official fancy handle, Musky Ringtail, and oh yeah, that's kind of the whole arc that's been leading to this moment. It's the project of a lifetime.
Fantastic. Well, quite the journey to at least get you started for sure. One of the great things about games, I think that everybody kind of understands, is that it is a whole bunch of different art mediums put into one. You know, you've got your story and your visuals and music and so many things that come together. You know, the interaction with the player and creates a whole different world and environment for us to be able to interact with. It's pretty exciting to see what people come up with and so many different concepts and ideas. And so, yeah, great. Love to hear how people get their start. So I'm sure it piques some folks' interest besides myself to kind of hear like what, how a molecular biologist decides to take the plunge into shifting gears and doing game dev work. And other than an idea and a concept that you want to grow, was there something that kind of pushed you away from that kind of a career, or what?
Yeah. So basically, I've always loved watching Let's Players.
Proximity warning.
Even as a teenager, I started with Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, like that crowd from the 2010s. But then started getting into others that were a little bit more indie. I knew one of the guys I still watch sometimes, Manly, Badass Hero. He would play a lot of like oddball indie games, like just anything, whether it was really good or really bad, but he would give it a shot. And sometimes he would play bad stuff, and I would think, man, hundreds of thousands of people watch this, and I feel like I could do better. Not to be mean, of course, that's how I was thinking back then. I was like 19, give me a break. But I was definitely like, I think I could do this. I think it's in my capability. And I think the kind of game that really kind of inspired me, it's kind of a small one. I think it's called Diaries of a Spaceport Janitor. That game was the one that made me think, hey, in this thing, you're basically like a garbage drone that is trying to have a big adventure, but will never get it. Like the games that you can never get enough money, that the canon ending is that you just get haunted by like a skull, and then the skull leaves and you're just doing nothing, the end. So I was like, what if that garbage drone lady thing could have like their adventure? And that kind of framework, that story of like, I wish I could leave and I want to see like a bigger world. I feel like that's kind of a story it seems almost cliche, but when I try to think of like titles that have that as like a premise, I struggle to think of many. It's kind of interesting. It seems cliche, but it's actually kind of fresh just because it's not done as much. So I was like, that I guess that kind of like video game background and like seeing that game was kind of what made me think, I can do this. It's a lot of fun. I like watching it. And at some point, like one of my friends who started his own little massage business, massage therapist, medical massage, he told me, why don't you just start an LLC? It's easy. It only costs like $30 in Missouri. And I was like, yeah, well, why don't I? This was a hobby on the side. Sure. But then I was like, all right, let's put some money in it. Let's commission out some art. Let's find people to like fill in the skill gaps that I don't have. So that's it's kind of like the specific game motivation and the friend that basically told me, hey, spend some money. You have it, so spend it.
Great. Yeah. No, it all sounds good. Thank you for kind of sharing that detail. I do want to take a moment to kind of recognize our viewership. First of all, thank you to our new follower, Super Earthling. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. And Sorry for the interruption there. I know sometimes the computer gets a little loud when we get a new follower, all that. It walks a little bit on our guests, so apologies for that. But yeah, it's good to have you along for the ride, and that includes everyone else who is joining us, whether you're here on the Twitch side or on YouTube. Feel free at any time during the stream to drop in questions or comments, and we'll throw them over here to Musky. And you know, as they're fit, make sure we get your questions answered. And definitely love to have you guys engaged. So feel free to drop that stuff in there as we proceed forth. Yeah. All right. So with that out of the way, I guess, we talked about your kind of start and how it's been a journey even to this point. So what does the current picture look? I know that before we went live, you mentioned that you're still doing the day job, and so you're kind of having to fit this in at nights, and I know exactly what that's like. So, but what is it like for you? I know what it's like for me, but
Sure.
how's that working out? How much time are you able to put into it? How's it working for you and feeling as you're going about the process?
Yeah. So basically, some weeks are more productive than others because my job is sometimes 9 to 5, but it may go like 7 or 8. So those days are just gone. So I maybe on average can throw in like 8 or 9 hours a week, just unless I take a special vacation to just work on the game.
Yeah.
But basically, I have like the 4 elements that I work on. I have writing dialogue trees and all the options. So that is something that I can do almost anytime. Like I don't need to like sit down and like zone in so much. So dialogue is something I work on a lot because I can write pretty well. Like I've had a lot of years practicing and doing it for fiction and script kind of writing, like a play sort of stuff. So that's good. Uh, Music is something I do a little less often because that just takes a lot out of me. I like to think that the music I make is pretty decent. It's basically music concepts, like the mixing and the instruments and everything will be set up. So it'll be a complete song with instrumentation and balance. But the one thing I don't know how to do, and I know is a long thing to master, is like mastering and like the perfect mix and getting those frequency cutoffs to look great. So I know we probably have one of those like queued up, maybe for some point in the stream, like one of my compositions.
Actually been playing while we've been talking, so
Oh,
I
oh
can
yeah,
turn
yeah.
it. I can turn it up here a little bit. We can kind of get the full impact of it. But yeah, take a look or a listen.
Oh, it's this one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is basically something that I'll do sometimes. A second. So I usually have an area that I'm trying to develop because this is kind of an open world 2.5D game. So there are several areas you got to traverse. So for me, it's a little easier to be in the mindset of a certain area. And it's like, okay, I'm going to write dialogue for like these parts. I'm going to write music that is from like this area. And then visual art. I'll have like concept art. It'll sometimes look something like this. It's not going to look super great, but I got like my sketchbook here. I'll have like sketches of what like the level layouts should look like. And this stuff I will put into like Metabang Pro, which is just like a free drawing software to clean up all the lines and get all the dimensions right because it has to fit within a certain screen resolution since this game does use pixel art, as you might kind of semi-tell. Yeah, there's actually one concept art right on screen. I'll basically have like those things cleaned up and then I will send that to an artist so that like a actual like good pixel artist that will draft and work together and then they can send me the asset and it's like, okay, this looks good, this is in dimensions. Now in Unity, which is the game engine I use, we just paste that in the background, set up the lighting and the camera, and it's like, it's a there's the background, and now we just need to add like interaction handles to stuff or objects. But it's that's generally the process. So it's kind of slow going. I may get writer's block. I may get like music composer's block. I may get visual block. But I think more lately I've been able to kind of move forward with writing quite a bit, and with the visual art, especially now that I've done a kind of a hunt for more visual artists like that I can trust and work with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can go on and on, but that's kind of the process how it feels,
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, having good people to work with is absolutely a strong key. When we're working as solo developers, indie developers with a very small group and just trying to get some assets built in and so
Proximity
forth.
warning. Humanoid life form identified
It
and has
makes
set a
all the
course to match
difference in
our
the
own.
world. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate that, Cloud Perm. Thank you for joining us and hanging out here as we talk with Musky about his project PsykoWorld. Yeah, it definitely connecting with the right people to help you with those assets and stuff is super key. The time commitment involved is super tough. When you're working on it 9 hours a week as your hope. I mean, I've switched to full time, which I'm blessed to be able to do that. But even full time hours, it still takes a lot of time and a lot of work. So yeah. All right. So as indie developers, we wear a lot of hats. And we talked a little bit about that, but I know you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about sort of your organization and your planning. So I can put up your, not that one. We can put up your Twinnery here. Flowchart, and maybe you can talk to us a little bit about your organizational structure.
Yes. So basically, this game, there's two things I really wanted to solve with this game. Kind of for me, that's kind of like a gaming gap that I don't feel is like, at least for me, it doesn't like satisfy me fully. One is kind of, how can I say it? I guess there's a certain sort of story I want to tell, and I can get into that later in terms of like what the main character is going through, and the story I just trying to express. But
An anomaly has
the
been
other thing I
detected
wanted
within
to
range
kind
of
of
our
solve
scanners.
is
Collecting data now to
deep
determine potential
socialization.
threats.
When Animal Crossing New Horizons came out during the pandemic, one of the
Assessment
things
of
that
potential
kind
threat
of
complete.
broke my heart a little bit
Danger
about
is
the game
minimal.
is how the
Returning to
social
condition status
simulation
blue.
felt kind of thin. Because basically everybody's programmed to like you, which is fine. It's a chill game. That's not like the main, like, oh, you can screw it up and then freaking like Tom Nook's just going to kick you off the island. Like, it's not really what happens,
Right.
But I wanted something that where characters kind of remember what you do, they kind of care about you, and they relate to the arc and the decisions that you've made. This is kind of like Undertale touched on one aspect of this, kind of like the moral, ethical, kind of fourth wall breaking, getting in your head sort of thing. Persona kind of got into this, is you got to make the time investment. You have to like date, quote, your friends, even though you pick one of three choices where the outcome is always the same. Now, I understand why this is done, because to make like a quote real conversation, you would have an insane dialogue tree, because real conversations can explode into like 10 different ones that are all full length, and they all have to be tonally consistent, and they all have to be like following the arc and not contradict anything else. So I'm just going to do that. It takes a lot of work to do that, and that's kind of what I'm trying to showcase with that little Twinery tree.
Gotcha.
Basically, that what you're partly seeing on the screen there is one round of questions for one date for one main character. This game has, I think, 4 main dateable characters that have the traditional structure where you'll visit them, you'll speak to them, and they may offer, hey, let's have lunch or something, and then you will go to a date where, as you might see in the tree, you'll have like some top level decisions that's like, hey, how Like how what do you want to know about me? It's like, I'm in this one, you're talking to like a sheep drone, like a hive mind unit. So it's like, oh, what are hive minds? What's it like being a sheep? How did you end up here? Each of those leads to a subtree that's completely unique from the others. And then if, let's say, you pick what's on there. Oh yeah, it's like, oh, you're a sheep drone and you always have to obey. So then you could ask him, what if you got to do something that sucks? Or it's like, oh, well, tell me about the sheep grades and how like they work. Oh, tell me about this thing that has its own subtrees.
Wow.
And at the end, you get an assessment by the path that you navigated down the tree. Let's say you said something kind of insulting, then you pulled it back a little, and then you have like some medium understanding. Then all right, you'll have like some score that's not terrible. Because you realized the mistake, you read the facial cues and the animations, and you're like, okay, look, like I didn't mean all that. Or what if you go like all in on like a great thing and then you screw it up at the end? Well, that's still going to have a good assessment because most of the time it was good, and you just messed up at the end, so that's going to maybe lock you out of some reward or some lore tidbit or some minor stat boost for the day. And this is the key. I want stats and gameplay to link in with the social aspect, not just in terms of items, but in terms of the emotional buffs you get, kind of like Omori, where if you're mad, it's attack high, defense low for the day, something like that. But I want the gameplay and the atmosphere and the conversation you're actually having to reflect what's happening. Of course, the reason that's hard is because what I've shown you there that has, I think, there's like 30 40 dialogue sequences I had to write. That is just one round of the date, and then round 2, and then round 3. Every date basically has 3 rounds. That is about 9 to 10 inputs for the player. So the player will sit through this date, and it'll take maybe about 3 to 5 minutes, which is it's a good long cutscene, but it's interactive. But that is just one of like maybe 15 or 30 different dates they could have had with all the permutations. And I have to write everything. I'm going to write this huge tree for somebody that's just going to take a tiny little thing. But that's the price, I guess, of like full immersion, is what could I have missed? What could I have said with this person? I feel like that feeling of regret, like where could I have gone? What could I have done? I think that's one of the keys to like adventure immersion is missable content. But, again, to emphasize, I forgive the big players, the AAA games, because, that's making a lot of content that's basically designed to not be seen. And that's insane from like a business and just effort proposition. It's like, that's a lot of work.
Well, it does offer, a great deal of replayability, so I think that's another positive element there too, where every time you play, it's going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah. And exactly. And part of this feeling replayable and kind of fresh for as long as possible is just that there's so much emotionally consistent writing content that you just can't memorize it all. It's hard to like say, what did I say for all like 30 of these questions for date 2 on this character's? Man, I'm not going to remember. You're just going to remember the emotions you had. And that's kind of I don't know, that's kind of nice. It's kind of nice when you can't be so exhaustive and do what, save scumming. I'm just going to go through every tree. It's like, yeah, you could do that. Hey, it's your game, but it's just going to kind of ruin your own experience of it. So,
yeah, no, that's great. I love that, the mixing it up. So not only is it to give you a different experience every time you play it, but even adds a different experience for, say, a group of friends who all play. They're all gonna have a different experience with it, a different adventure, a different outcome. So
exactly.
It's they're not all doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, keeping in mind that YouTube is a marketing medium. So at some point, those stream keys, it's like, you have to have standout content, make it easier for the creators, right? So.
For sure. Very cool. All right. Well, so folks, if you've got questions or comments for Musky, either as an individual developer or about this project, PsykoWorld, we're going to continue to talk about it, but feel free to drop those questions in the chat on either the Twitch side or the YouTube side. I'm trying to keep tabs on both here so that we can throw those in. Appreciate you joining us for that. Can you describe a little bit more?
An anomaly has been detected within range of our scanners. Collecting data now to determine potential threats.
Got to watch for those lights to change.
Assessment of potential threat complete. Danger is minimal. Returning to condition status blue.
Thank you, Jedzi. I appreciate you looking out for us and keeping us safe. So it's good to know we don't have any imminent dangers out there, no big threats. Everything is under control. So I just sort of was curious to get a little bit more of sort of a vibe for PsykoWorld. Like if you were talking to somebody, you know, to give it that one sentence, this is what my game is, what is that for you?
So the one sentence I came up with was basically this: PsykoWorld is an Earthbound inspired sci-fi psychedelic second coming of age story.
Nice.
That's the one sentence. um,
Nice.
uh, so, and to say a little more, a friend described it to me. It's kind of like recapping the classic American road trip story. So you start from your home city, you go out to foreign places on the road, you live off a can of beans, so to speak, and you meet all sorts of characters. And in this game, the vibe is basically kind of quirky, uh, rich, at times very tense and fearful, other times very lighthearted and playful. And the main theme that holds all this together is Florence, the protagonist that you play, is trying to find out who she is without the presence of her father. Um, and what you see in all the lands you will visit is creatures that have subscribed to their own philosophies of what they think the Enlightenment is. Some people have decided to party away their way to death. Some have decided to imbibe in ultra violence. Others just want to um, gather money, dress themselves up in fancy costumes, and do rituals. And some people are just boring and normal. Uh, but Florence takes them all in stride. She has kind of a moral gray compass, which is important for the characters. She's open to anything because she doesn't know what she wants. Does she want to be evil? Does she want to be good? She thought she was good, but that didn't seem to get her anywhere in the time leading up to this. So this is really just an exploration of identity. And I
An
think
anomaly
it's a
has been
story that
detected
a lot of
within
people
range
can
of our
relate to.
scanners.
It's, you know, you
Collecting
come of
data
age
now to
and you
determine
think you know
potential
who you are,
threats.
but who are you really? Like when you really have to break down everything that makes you,
Assessment of potential
you know, a
threat
person,
complete. Danger is
maybe
minimal. Returning
father,
to
a
condition
mother,
status blue.
a member of your community. It's like, who is X? Who is Florence? And that is what this game is trying to get you to answer. Like you relate, hopefully, to her. Through her, you can kind of answer maybe those questions for yourself.
It's a lot of psychology in there, sir.
Yeah,
Now,
man.
how much? How much of this came from that initial dream that you had, and how much of it has kind of come to you over the years, and how much of it comes from building this next piece and that going, oh, that gives me another idea.
Yeah, basically, all I had from my dream was the opening city and the character. That I did have. The character not knowing who she wanted to be, but we were going to figure it out together. That was all I had. And Diary of a Spaceport Janitor. That's probably why it turned out that way. I think I probably watched that video like a month before, and then I got sick. Um, so yeah, it was very small to start. At this point, I have all 12 major areas done. I know what, well, I have written out. You're just gonna have to believe me because they're just text files, like rich text files with the stage direction and such, which are going to be very expensive to animate, but whatever. The I know basically what the entire like story direction has to be. I know what the endings have to be, and I know where all the main bosses and main events have to be. So at this point, I'm in the middle of just kind of writing out parts of the story, starting from those main events. so that when I write the flavor and little stuff, it doesn't like contradict like the big stuff. So that's a lot of that came over the course of like 4 or 5 years of doing this off and on, because I had college and then grad school and then like the scientist job, so it's like a lot of things were happening while like this game was being developed, and I like to think it's matured a lot from what it started as, because I've also just become a better writer. Like I've gone back to my original scripts from like 4 years ago, and I was
Yeah.
like, dude, this what the heck is this guy doing? And then I have to like rewrite it, but it's also much that's so much higher level of quality when I do that. So
Yeah.
I think now I'm at the point where I'm not really going back to stuff anymore. Now it's all new. So this most recent that's actually kind of why I started looking for artists now. So I was like, okay, I think the writing for the opening city is done, and the level layouts are done, but all I have are like gray like geometry, and the physics are tuned. Like they're there. Like what you're gonna do is it's all set up. You just need to paste in the fancy pixels now. So that's why I'm on the artist hunt, and maybe might have one of those slides up there of like a concept art, maybe that was like more pretty. Um, don't know if you have it up. Oh, there you go. Oh, actually, that's perfect. It cut off a little, but that's one of them. So yeah, so what you see there, for instance, that's one of the tests. So I basically did like an artist test, because I joined, Instagram, and I was seeing all these wonderful pixel artists, and I was like, man, all some are open for commissions, and all of them have great style, but nobody has 100% what I want default, because artists have flexibility, they have like quirks and such. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do to find the right person? So I had an idea, as a scientist, I was like, let's do an experiment. Let's go reach out to 10 different artists and see, how they like the vision. We'll send them a creative brief, and I had a brief that has the dimensions I need, and here's like the coloring, here's like the one paragraph of like lore, and here's like my sketch, kind of what you showed on the other one. Like I have a sketch that's kind of very done up with the right dimensions and deadlines and everything. And then 3 people got back to me, and of those 3, I was like, okay. And I'll be transparent, it was about $200 to $350 a piece for what you see there on screen, because those are like 1500 by 500 pixel compositions with like a lot of detail and like a lot of things on them. So that's quite a bit of work. I think the fastest of them was able to get it done in like 2 or 3 days. So 2 3 days, about $200 to $300, you'll get something like that, with some touch up by me in the end, because I have some art skill, just not that much. So fix some colorings and some lines here and there, but there you have I put the 3 artists icons on the left, just for shout outs and credit. Top
Nice.
left is a pixel alien. You can find them on Instagram. The middle one on ArtStation, his name is Dolkin, Jason Dolkin Todd. You can find him on ArtStation, and the one on the bottom is Lucas, I think Lucas Pixel Art. You can also find him on Instagram. So I gave them the same concept to all 3 of them, and you can see 2 of them had like a very like true to form, like we'll stick to the concept, the top and the bottom. Well, I didn't share the concept, but the top and bottom stick to the concept pretty closely. The middle one, Dolkin, took a little bit more of an interpretation. And actually, I like that a lot, because even though the colors and the lines he has chosen are not 100% what I want, the fact that he has the vision to like add to my vision, I could have him as like a lead artist. It's like, hey, make me a rough design of shapes and composition, because his perspective is also more, strictly speaking, formal than the other 2. Like the lines, perspective lines for like 2 point or whatever. So I could have him be the lead designer, and then have the others as touch-ups. It's like, hey, I like how you color and detail. So on these shapes, could you please add windows and detailing and blah, blah, blah. And then we'll work together, me as the kind of creative director, I suppose. And then we can have a kind of a nice looking piece. So that's that's how that's kind of how I've been organizing art, because I feel like I'm ready for that step. So I like all 3 of them. The 3 of them are pretty good. So I'll probably end up working with them at some capacity, and use these proven people that can kind of do the work, deliver it roughly on time, and do revisions. And I like working with them. So I would be willing to now give them the real concepts, because that was just a practice one. Like the game, that scene doesn't really make sense because the scene doesn't have like the hazing, it doesn't have like layered whatever. But um, now I'm going to give them like the room you saw on that other slide. That's the actual first room of the game. What you're looking at there, that's it. That's the first screen of PsykoWorld. It's the black and white sketch. Um, there you go. So that's literally like you're gonna have a dream sequence, some light animation. You're gonna wake up, and that's gonna be the room you wake up in on the bed. So Dolkin is probably gonna end up drawing that for probably like $250, and then Pixel Alien is probably gonna do some detailing work for another like $100 because it's just a little lighter, make all the sprite work, and then I'll probably end up reusing those beds and like the bookshelf assets in the back will be like faded out, and this can get recolored and repaleted somewhere else. So this is literally the nuts and bolts. I'm telling you right now, it's to have art that's very pretty costs money. It's well, I shouldn't say unfortunate, but that's just the reality. It does cost. So it's unless you do it yourself. But that's yeah. I guess I'm not sure where we started, but this is sort of the step of the
Yeah.
development process I'm at. I
Yeah.
have my people
No.
now, I have my concepts, so I'm ready to make the first level and release a demo. Hopefully in a year, I hope to have like the first world done.
Awesome. No, that's great. I would say when it comes to the artwork and connecting with artists, obviously there's a lot of folks out there, and like I said, connecting with the right people is always, I think the biggest thing. That's the biggest asset is those personal connections, more than any asset that's created for the game. But what I would encourage you and anyone else in our audience to do is to connect with us on our Discord channel. We'll get the link for that dropped here in the chat. And on our Discord, we actually have a couple of different channels that can be very beneficial. We do have a channel in there for the ability to post for job opportunities. So if, for example, Musky, if you're ever looking for an artist, you're welcome to post in that channel that you'd like to, have somebody try out. If there's an artist here who wants to connect to Musky and say, hey, I really want a shot, give me a shot at that art. That's another great place to be able to do that. And then also we have a channel for spotlight guests. And so you're welcome to update your project and how things are going at any point in time in that channel on our Discord. So we welcome you into that community and hope everyone here will join us for that and be able to kind of connect and be able to, hear updates and progress, because after we get off this stream here, there's going to be people wondering, hey, what happened to that game he was talking about? And so we'd love for you to occasionally make a post and let us know how things are going. Stay in touch. So just encourage everybody to kind of connect as we grow that community as well. So hopefully we'll get that link dropped here in the chat. I don't know if, hopefully Abomination, you're available to grab that for me. Otherwise, I'll grab it here momentarily. And then speaking of links, we'll also add, thank you. We'll also add Musky to our website. We have a page on our website for
An
previous
anomaly has
guests.
been detected within range of our scanners. Collecting data now to determine potential threats.
Thank you, Jedzia. I'll let you finish.
Assessment of potential threat complete. Danger is minimal. Returning to condition status blue.
All right, we're still safe. All is good. So one of these days I'm going to actually add some emergency situations in there so we can have some fun with it. But random attacks or something. I don't know.
Raid alarm, man.
Yeah. Oh, we've got it. We've got the when somebody raids us, we actually go into condition red and the whole 9 yards. It's fun. Um, let's see. Now I sidetracked myself. I know I had a point that I was making. Oh, on our website. Sorry, on our website, we do have a page for all of our previous spotlight guests, and you can see links to all of their work, whether they're an artist, a developer, a musician, you name it. All of their links are on that page. So we'll be adding Muskies to that as well, so that you'll be able to connect, with them with him directly. And yeah, so any social, um, we've got an Instagram we'll post up there, and then anything else that you have, if you want us to link that as well, you can share that with us, and we'll throw that in there as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Thanks.
all right, yeah. Well, I mean, we're all about supporting indie developers and those who contribute to its growth and development. It's really what this stream is all about. So definitely appreciate everybody's support of these developers, of their games, wish listing things and so forth. And I think that leads us into my next question for you, sir. So we talked about the past. We talked about what kind of led you to this point. We talked about the present. What's it like to build? So let's talk a little bit about the future. You touched on it just a moment ago. You said you're shooting for hopefully a demo by next year. What can you tell us? Where are you looking to launch to? Is this going to be a Steam game? When are you looking at putting up a Steam page? Is that something you've thought about at this point? What's your future plans?
Right. Yeah. So basically, there's 3 phases to this game's release because I really want to give it the best chance possible to succeed.
An
And I
anomaly
know
has been
marketing
detected within range of
is
our
kind of a
scanners.
key part
Collecting
of
data now
helping
to determine
games
potential
succeed. Even if
threats.
it's good, it needs followers, it needs attention. So actually, this
Assessment of
is
potential threat
a
complete.
minor
Danger is
sidetrack. It's not
minimal.
what this stream
Returning
is
to
about,
condition
but I
status
do
blue.
have another like technical demo game that I'm making first. So this is kind of the future timeline to making that game published, PsykoWorld published. I have a demo game that I'm going to try and release for I think September. I'm not sure. Steam has kind of an indie Steam Indie Fest or something 3 times a year.
Next
Um,
fest. Mm-hmm.
yeah, Next Fest. There we go. Yes.
Yep.
I want to release for Next Fest in autumn this technical demo game first. Then, based on the, see how the temperature looks, see what I got to do on the marketing. I have to start a TikTok because, there was a post I read on some industry guy was talking about, what is the best transition to wish lists on social media. And one of the top demographics they had for adults, 18 to 35 was like TikTok. So I was like, all right, I have Insta, I have Facebook and Twitter, or I'm sorry, I have Blue Sky, but I don't have a TikTok just because the content I have so far doesn't have videos. Probably gonna have to make some like game dev compilations of like my experiments and such. But in any case, the timeline is make the technical demo game, another game. It's like a prequel, let's say, for some side character. Release that for Next Fest. See the feedback from that. How do people like the system? How much attention is it getting? Use that to refine my marketing strategy for the next year. So then release my first part of the demo of PsykoWorld the next year. And then based on how that goes, it's like, all right, that's when my decision point will be, should I take a leave from my full-time job? I do have savings, piled up. So that's going to be a scary decision. And it's going to be very dependent on the attention and, how well did the first demo game do? How did like this demo do? How's my profile looking? And if it looks good enough for me that I can get people on Kickstarter to at least like pay like half my rent or something to like help keep the game going full time, then I will probably quit my job for a while, focus on the game full time for a year. I've budgeted in about $50,000-$60,000 because I know that this has been saved over the course of almost 10 years. It's like this has been a goal I guess that money wasn't being saved 10 years ago, but at least for 5 years, it's been a goal to like, okay, I know what I'm asking for. This game has like probably 800 rooms. The rooms have to look nice, and I'm asking for special effects, and I'm asking for like, someone to master like 80 songs. Like, I'm asking for a lot. So that's kind of my that's why like the 50K and seeing how much the commissions cost, I don't think that's a bad estimate. But all of this is really going to depend on how the metrics look as like these demos come out. If it's like a flop, which I don't mind if it's a flop. I mean, this was a passion project from the beginning. If it's like two people buy it, like my mom and me, then it's like, I'll just work on it on the side as I have been for the next 10 years. But if there's even remotely some amount of attention that could indicate that, hey, this is going to be at least a moderate income game, then hey, I'll give it its time. I mean, you only live once, so I never want to have the regret of not having given this important piece of art to me. It's dues. So that's kind of what the future looks like. It's a little hazier
cool.
right now, but
yeah, no, I mean, much more financial prudent plan than mine. So kudos.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't meaning to flash numbers here. I just want to be
yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So, one question. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but we always ask our guests this. This is sort of comes out every single time. So,
Sure.
What do you like to play? What's your favorite game, or your game you've played lately? What's on from a player perspective? What do you enjoy?
Well, I can give two answers because I play very differently when I do play them.
Sure.
One, weirdly enough, Minecraft,
Okay.
because you can just do whatever you want. Like when you have your friends, you can create your own story. And like, if I don't have a story, well, this is like the ultimate role play engine. So I love that one.
Can't be too crazy. I mean, it's one of the most popular games out there. So, I mean, you're not alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's what can I say? It's something I love. But another game that I actually like quite a bit is the Arkham series for Batman.
Okay.
So Arkham City, Arkham Knight, and Arkham Asylum. Oh, that's the wrong order. But those three, I really like those, and I just really love like its combat system. Like that's one of the games like I've played over and over like a lot of times, just because it's just the right mix of challenging, but it still flows, and Batman kind of does what you want. So those are kind of like lifetime favorites that I've like played a
Nice.
bit. Not just like several times, but yeah. So it's not quite like the game I'm making. I've watched a lot more games that I've played. I guess 'cause it's a lot easier when you're working on the side. I have a remote job, so I can have like my computer on the side watching my favorite game, and then I'm like working. So it's just I'm able to kind of keep in touch that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, those I'd say were my two kind of favorite gaming experiences.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, if anyone else has questions or comments for Musky, please drop them in the chat. As we start to wind down on time, I want to make sure I give you guys all the opportunity to do so. So you can throw those into the chat either on the Twitch side or the YouTube side, and we'll get those thrown out. So then let me throw this question at you. Is there something, I know you've got tons and tons that you could share. I know we could go on talking for days. So with time being a consideration, what is there like a key feature or a key mechanic or a key element that you really want to share and be able to kind of highlight in the time that we have?
Yeah, of course. There's two. I'm trying to decide. I'll let you decide. I'll give you a choice.
Okay.
Yeah. How's that sound?
Sounds like a poll time.
Yeah, maybe full time. But here's the choices I'm offering: the battle system or the social system.
Ooh, interesting. I mean, since I think that since you were just talking about how you were captivated by the battle system, I think it'd be interesting to see how you are implementing your own.
Sure thing. So the battle system I want is basically a mixture, and I think this is new, and that's why I need a demo game because it's technically, I don't think it's been done before in this way. So, what I want is basically a turn based RPG, so that's been done. Active time battle, that's been done. So, you have time to make your inputs. What is different is that I want to go between phases of attacking where you input combinations like you would if I don't know if you know this title like Lisa the Painful, where you could input like let's say like 5 key inputs, and if you remembered something right, that will unlock a skill that you can cast for free or at a discounted price
An
for
anomaly
MP.
has been detected within range
So
of
I
our
want basically
scanners.
attack
Collecting
cards
data
where
now
you
to
can input a
determine
sequence
potential
and another
threats.
sequence and another sequence, whether it's an item, a spell, or whatever, and then that gets queued up and it'll play out. Um,
Assessment of
and then
potential threat
finally,
complete.
after that
Danger is
attack phase is
minimal.
in, you have
Returning to
an
condition
avoidance or
status
defense phase.
blue.
So once you've done your thing, then it's kind of like Undertale, let's say. Now you have to take time to actively avoid attacks from your opponent. So you're basically in defense mode. And then once that mode concludes, you're back onto your main turn and you have your active time battle. The faster you are, the more time you have to make your turns. The faster your opponent is, the faster their kind of gauge fills up, and then you have to go into defense mode faster and faster. So at some point at the top level, you're just having to remember your list of favorite combinations that you can stack up your skills. You can have some on tap that you don't have to remember the codes, but you have like limited RAM basically because you're a computer character to quick cast. So if there's a drawing here that kind of emphasizes this all, you basically have something that looks like that. Um, your options up top, you have your little attack cards. You'll get more as you level up. Your opponent has their action gauge that fills in. So if you're too indecisive, you'll get interrupted, and then uh, this is here. You fill in your things. You can cast a spell, use one of the cards for an item, or you can put in whatever combinations, left, right for like machine punches. And then you have an avoidance phase. It's like, hey, you can dodge stuff, and if you perfect parry it, you get your turn back immediately. So you're incentivized to memorize enemy spells, enemy attacks. They should be the same ones over in the game. But that's kind of the innovative system. It mixes together a few things. I know a lot of ways it can go wrong, so that's why I'm going to test it with this first tiny game where it's just the battle system. The game literally has 5 rooms in it. It's just a boxing match, and I'm just going to do that and see how it feels and get feedback from that because
Yep.
I know untested tech is always risky. So that's
Yep. It's also how you come up with something, innovative that people are intrigued by. So very cool. You
yeah,
know?
we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see the prototype. Very cool. All right. Well, I mean, you did that pretty quick. Do you want to give that same kind of rough on the social aspect that you were?
Sure. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
trying to hurry because I was like, all right,
No, you
time.
did. You did good. You did good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, my marketing experience. I do work in marketing, so maybe that's my skill set coming in. But my the social system is the other aspect that's a little risky in terms of just how it's ambitious. I know it's ambitious. So it's the dating system is something that's interesting because throughout this game you have something called spirit, and basically if your spirit goes to 0 and then you go to bed for the day, it is game over. But it's permadeath game over. Like you are finished. Your journey has concluded. So the way to keep your spirit up is by winning fights, by seeing and witnessing, inspiring things, or having success with your friends. So the thing that I like about this social system is that you can only get the best ending by fully befriending all of your friends. But as you like befriend them, skills And story events are locked behind certain dating decisions. So there's a lot of story events and missions that could happen. But the way that you attain like your full strength is by basically figuring out what the characters kind of want. So I know in a lot of dating games, the answer is to just be a nice person or to listen at a basic level. But what I want is for you to have to figure out through the cues and the facial expressions. They may not tell you outright what they're feeling. There's one character which I really love. He's like kind of a raccoon. He's your trickster mentor guy. He likes it when you fight him. So he wants to be insulted. He wants you to be disagreeable. He wants you to say contrarian stuff and insult him and criticize him. And that's the way that you'll be his friend. If you're nice to him, you will fail. There's another sheep that is programmed to follow directions, but she is truly happy that way. She's like the only happy character in this whole story. Um, and your character has like, oh, you have to be free. You have to, make your own decisions. Like see the beauty of life, but that's not the right thing for her. So that's something that the player kind of has to get over on a subtle way. Because the sheep will always try to agree with you and be like, oh yeah, I guess maybe if you like that. But you have to kind of read into the cues to like really figure out the character. So I think that's something that's again a little risky because it could be frustrating for a player to like misread the situation, or for me to have a different idea of what the player is feeling. So that's risky, but I think it could also be very rewarding depending on how I execute. That's why the little demo game will have a little flavorings of that, and the main demo in a year will have much more of it, which is like, hey, we're going to try to do like social systems, but with a little bit more risk at the players. You're going to have to interpret the animations, a lot of facial expressions for every single character in pixel art. So that's something I know it's a little different. It's not just you make one or two good decisions. It's like I said earlier, it's a total of score and how you're reading what they said, in the past and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the souped up social system.
Yeah, it's super intriguing. I think it definitely raises a lot of interesting mechanics and challenges in the development. But it'll be cool to see how it kind of, like you said, execution will be key. It also leads into a question from the Queen 117. Which character is your favorite to design or write?
Yeah, that's not a fair question. I'm just kidding. I
Like picking between your kids or something.
yeah, basically, who's my favorite to write? I guess whoever I've written tidbits of. I really do like writing Clancy. So I mean, I haven't said who that is, but he's the raccoon trickster mentor. He's the one that in this story he basically inserts himself as like your friend. Manufactures some situation where you like owe him money, and if you don't, he'll like vaporize you. Oh, but he'll look over you to make sure that you're keeping on task and that you're okay. And he's just doesn't know really how to make friends. But he's kind of has this wild energy that I really like, just randomly criticizes and insults. But Florence is also kind of a rough character, and they roughhouse and tussle, and it's kind of I don't know, it kind of reminds me of a kind of like brotherly wrestling kind of. But I like that character. He's kind of weirdly enough, he's actually I'm not going to talk about it here. This He's actually kind of the main character of the entire universe this takes place in, but Florence is the one we're looking at now. So he has his own history going on, but this is how I design all the characters. It's like for them to be real, they have to have a past, they have to have motivations. And when I realized what kind of I gave this guy in terms of powers and setup, I'm like, well, he should it seems like he's kind of the big deal, but he's just on the side. He just kind of collides with your journey, does some stuff to it. But I do like I like Clancy a lot, and I like raccoons. That's why my profile is this thing.
Very cool. Very cool. There you go. So yeah, backstory definitely always helps when you're trying to write something character rich. Super Earthling says the sheep character sounds interesting. What are they about?
Yeah. So in this world, keep in mind, I haven't said anything about the world, but to be brief, this world is basically the Earth has been inherited by psionic animals. Psychic powers came to the Earth. Humans were so smart that we basically ascended. and we left the earth to like fend for itself, and these like dumb animals kind of came to like our level, let's say. So there's a whole sense of there's a whole like bunch of races that all have their own niches, but sheep, what they did to band together is they are strictly nonviolent, communitarian, uh, agreeable kind of fluff balls. And the year 3000, they've kind of taken that to a sci-fi dystopia. It's like they sell members of their own race off to cities to like do whatever the city needs them to do. It's like, hey, do you need like 10,000 people that will like connect your neighborhood and like resolve racial tensions by organizing very difficult house parties? It's like, yeah, okay, we'll pay a few $1,000,000 for some of those. It's like, hey, do you need some soldiers? It's like, they'll do it with a smile on their face. All right, how about that? So sheep are all like basically customized friends and citizens. And the very fancy, expensive ones can be like your therapist and your life coach and your romantic partner. And they'll come in 35 different personality types with like tunable modules and whatever you want. So they're like commoditized friendship. That is their thing. And that's Florence, our main character, who's trying to find her own path and be very free. That is like the antithesis of her. And one of the broken sheep ends up in your party. But that's kind of one of the tensions throughout the game. So that's what the sheep do. They're just a fluffy, cute mascots that just obey and do whatever you tell them to, even if it's really bad.
Very nice. All right. Let's see. Oops. Wrong button click there. There we go. All right. Very cool. Well, there's a lot to all of this, and I know it's hard for some folks to kind of visualize and put the pieces together in their mind, because a lot of what we've had to show has been sort of, conceptual and written, obviously early stages of the actual development still. And so hopefully as Musky gets closer to that demo prototype version, maybe he'll be able to share some of that. We'll be able to kind of see how that's progressing. Very, very out there concepts and lots of different, both not only in story, but in game mechanics, a lot of different things that you're working on being innovative with, and it sounds very interesting, very intriguing for sure. Even your story is very unique and interesting. So.
Yeah. I hope that makes for a unique and interesting game. Updates to come on the Musky Insta, and hey, if I can get on your all Discord, maybe. I don't know if there's like an update, but hey.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a link in the chat right here. If you or anyone else who's with us right now wants to grab that link into our Discord, feel free to join us on there. And as a previous Spotlight guest, we'll make sure to update your status, and you can make posts in our Spotlight channel on the Discord server so that you can keep folks up to date as often as you would like. Not that it's a chore, it's an opportunity. So whatever works for you. All right. Well, I definitely want to thank everybody for taking time out of your day. I know everybody's got a lot going on these days, and taking a few moments to be able to get to know somebody else.
An anomaly has been detected within range of our scanners. Collecting data now to determine potential threats.
I need like an override.
Assess.
All right, there we go. We'll do the override there. That one's manual. I'll have to build something in because sometimes she's talking when we don't need to hear it, but that's okay. Thank you to everybody for taking a moment out of your day to join us here on this channel, where we are all about game development, getting behind the scenes of game development. What does it take to build a game? We go through sessions to actually work on some of our own projects. We bring in guests so that we can meet them and get familiar with their projects. We promote independent artists and musicians and voice talent and animators, anybody who's really all about furthering this indie game dev community. We love doing it. We love the fact that you guys took a moment to be a part of our day. Musky, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed your time.
Oh, yeah, I did. You guys were wonderful. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. And since we are all about supporting other developers, we do like, instead of just dropping into the void of nothingness and turning the stream off, we like to boot everybody into another channel. For anybody who's not real Twitch familiar, it's called a raid. All we do is drop into another developer, another game developer's account or channels, so that we can kind of show them a little bit of love and support on our way out. I was going to drop over to Jitspo. It looks like he's just playing Quake today. Usually he's developing something, but let me grab another game developer here. Let's see. Boom. All right. We'll try this one. So this is not somebody I know, but it's just a great way that we get to well, this one's got a content warning. Maybe it's not good to do with a general audience. Usually it's a little easier. Let's see. All right. Here's somebody refactoring a program. That's tedious work, so we can at least encourage them. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Musky. Good luck with your project. I hope that it continues to go forward and successfully for you.
Yeah, I mean, look forward to telling everybody all about it. Musky and stuff.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.